Frank moved through the darkness with the grace of a phantom, his every footfall a whisper against the backdrop of chaos. Around him, the battlefield lay as a canvas of destruction, painted with the blood and sweat of countless souls. Trenches snaked like serpents, their gaping maws swallowing the fallen, both friend and foe alike, into their muddy depths. The moon, obscured by clouds, offered only fleeting glimpses of the carnage below. Frank, clad in the darkness of his mission, pressed on, his senses keenly attuned to the dangers lurking in the shadows. Each step he took was a solemn tribute to the fallen comrades whose names would be forever etched in the annals of war. His mission burned brightly in his mind, a beacon amidst the darkness. To infiltrate the enemy camp, eliminate the officer, and secure the map detailing troop movements. It was a task that demanded not only skill and courage, but an unwavering resolve forged in the crucible of battle. As Frank drew closer to the enemy encampment, he could hear the distant murmur of voices and the crackle of a campfire. His heart quickened with anticipation, his breath shallow and steady as he prepared to strike. The two guards stationed at the entrance stood like sentinels, their silhouettes etched against the flickering glow of the fire. Frank moved with the fluidity of a shadow, his movements deliberate and silent. With a swift and decisive motion, he dispatched the guards, their bodies crumpling soundlessly to the ground. Deep within the heart of the enemy encampment, the officer sat alone in his tent, cocooned in ignorance to the peril lurking just beyond its canvas walls. Frank, like a shadow in the night, crept closer, his senses attuned to the slightest hint of danger. With each step, his heart thundered in his chest, the adrenaline coursing through his veins like molten fire. The officer, oblivious to the impending threat, was a solitary figure surrounded by the darkness, his silhouette illuminated only by the faint glow of a flickering lantern. As Frank breached the threshold of the tent, a surge of adrenaline propelled him forward like a force of nature. With a precision honed by years of training, he deflected the barrel of the officer's sidearm away with a swift motion, while simultaneously driving his blade into the officer's neck with deadly accuracy. In the ensuing chaos, the air was thick with the metallic tang of blood and the desperate gasps of a dying man. Frank stood over the fallen officer, his mind a tempest of conflicting emotions. Memories of fallen comrades danced before his eyes, their faces etched with the pain of loss and the glory of battle. He fought not just for victory, but for the memory of those who had stood by his side, their sacrifice a constant reminder of the cost of war. As he watched the life drain from the officer's eyes, Frank's gaze fell upon the officer's lifeless form. With practiced efficiency, he searched the officer's body, his fingers deftly locating the coveted map that had been the object of his perilous mission. But amidst the chaos of war, something else caught his eye. A gleaming watch, its intricate design a testament to craftsmanship and wealth. With a sense of reverence, Frank removed the watch from the officer's wrist, its weight a tangible reminder of the passage of time and the fleeting nature of life. He slipped the timepiece onto his own wrist, the fine quality of its construction a stark contrast to the brutality of war. As he prepared to fade back into the darkness, Frank carried with him not only the spoils of his victory, but the weight of the sacrifices made in its name. And as he disappeared into the night, the echoes of battle faded into silence, leaving only the whisper of memory in their wake. With a final, decisive blow, Frank emerged victorious, the officer lying defeated at his feet. The map, the prize for which he had risked everything, lay within his grasp. But there was no time to celebrate. As he made his escape from the enemy camp, Frank left a trail of destruction in his wake. Radio equipment lay shattered, their signals silenced by his hand. The darkness was his ally, concealing his movements as he slipped into the chaos of the night. Once more into the trenches, Frank descended, returning to the heart of darkness. It was a familiar place, a grim pit of conquest and despair where the walls bore the scars of humanity's ultimate sacrifice. Here, amidst the echoing silence, the souls of the fallen seemed to linger, their whispers of danger carried on the wind, a haunting reminder of the price paid in the name of war. As darkness enveloped the surroundings, a faint glimmer emerged, cutting through the black veil like a beacon. In its light, the silhouettes of the damned took shape, their forms hauntingly visible against the backdrop of shadows. An enemy patrol approaching threatens to expose his presence, forcing him to seek refuge inside a burnt-out armored vehicle. The stench of death hung heavy in the air as he huddled beneath the lifeless form of an enemy soldier, his breath shallow and ragged. The minutes stretched into hours as Frank waited, every second an eternity in the suffocating confines of the metal beast. His mind raced with the madness of war, the sounds of battle echoing in his ears like a never-ending symphony of death and destruction. When the patrol finally moved along, Frank emerged battered but unbroken. His journey through the trenches was a harrowing odyssey that had only begun, though each step was a testament to his indomitable will. As Frank traversed further down the trench, stepping over fallen soldiers, he encountered a lone enemy soldier scouring the bodies of the fallen. Their eyes met in a moment of silent understanding, both recognizing the danger of the other. In an instant, gunfire erupted, the sound echoing through the trench like thunder. Frank felt the searing pain of a bullet tearing through his flesh, his vision swimming as darkness closed in around him. He crumpled to the ground, consciousness slipping away like sand through his fingers. When he finally awoke, the world spun dizzily around him. The enemy soldier lay nearby, wounded but still alive, his eyes filled with malice as he struggled to reload his weapon. With a surge of determination, Frank lunged forward, his combat knife finding its mark with deadly precision. As the enemy soldier slumped to the ground, lifeless and still, Frank breathed a sigh of relief. But the battle was far from over. His own wounds seared with pain, he knew he needed to find shelter before it was too late. With trembling hands, Frank dragged his battered body into the back hatch of another shattered vehicle, the metal groaning in protest beneath his weight. His movements were slow and labored, each step sending waves of agony rippling through his wounded form. The stench of death hung heavy in the air, a sickly reminder of the price of war. Leaning against the cold metal interior, Frank felt the weight of exhaustion pressing down upon him like a suffocating blanket. Beside him, a fallen comrade slumped against the same wall, his lifeless eyes staring blankly into the abyss. Across from him, another soldier sat in silent vigil, his gaze fixed upon Frank with an eerie intensity. With a weary sigh, Frank reached for the medical kit strapped to his belt, his fingers fumbling with the clasp. Inside, a vial of potent medication glinted in the dim light, its contents a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. With practiced precision, he filled the syringe, the cool sting of the needle a welcome relief against his fevered skin. As he administered the injection, a sense of drowsiness washed over him like a gentle tide. His eyelids grew heavy, his breaths coming in ragged gasps as the medication took hold. Outside, the sounds of war raged on, a symphony of chaos and despair. But within the confines of the shattered vehicle, Frank found sanctuary in the embrace of oblivion, his consciousness slipping away into the darkness.